This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
We are joined by Cristina Clark. Excited to have our Carnivore lifestyle coach joining us here from Cristina Clark Wellness, based out of beautiful Virginia. She's here to talk more about her coaching company, which helps mostly women in midlife, like us, right? Get to the root cause of what's going on. And of course, stop chasing those symptoms and diets and get down to the root cause of everything. So first and foremost, welcome to the show today. How are you?
Hey, Jill, thanks for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
Well,
It's about 30 degrees here, but we do not have snow on the ground, so we're good.
yeah, and we're in the big blizzard of 26 in New York right now, but excited to be here and excited to talk to you because you're helping people eat better, eat differently to really help them improve their own health. So give us a little overview as to what Cristina Clark Wellness entails, and then we're going to dive into your background further since we're here on Zoom today.
Okay, great. So basically what I do and what I have really learned to focus on is lifestyle. And that includes nutrition, and that includes movement, that includes sleep, that includes stress management, and that includes mindset. And I find that most women are stuck in a vicious cycle of trying to chase diets and chase symptoms, and they've been told they're perimenopause or they're menopause or they're just aging. They've got this disease that now that they're older and they can't have children anymore, they're just struck with this disease. And I want them to know that they can actually change that, and it can be totally different for them, but they need to know how to eat and how to move and how to just take care of themselves and how to set boundaries.
Great. Well, we're going to talk about food as fuel, movement, mindset, and so many other things, but it's always important to get to know you and behind the scenes. Let's talk a little about your own health, if you don't mind sharing with everyone. Again, we have new listeners and viewers each and every week, so let's talk a little bit about your own health struggles that led you here.
Yeah, so I actually ended up with binge eating disorder. When I was about 12 years old, I learned to cope with food. And that went on for 33 years. And it was so complicated, and I really didn't like myself. And I did lots of things besides using food to cope. I actually did lots of exercise to try to punish myself and to try to force myself to be a certain way, to look a certain way. And that just really came to a head in 2019. I'd had other health issues that came up in 2010. I found out that I was allergic or histamine intolerant to gluten, dairy, soy, peanuts, and corn. And so I had to change my entire diet and still binge eating, which, like that wasn't something I really openly shared about. And I started cutting things out that were aggravating and started to see my health improve, still dealing with binge eating, and such a secret thing. But in 2019, somehow I found a coach, and I hired her in her group coaching program, and she had a course that you had to do, and then you showed up to the calls, and it was life. And it also, I guess, 16 months, because we were there 2 years, and I became one of her facilitators, one of her big sisters. And that allowed her to keep growing and to have people to do calls. So when I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, because the 4 months had passed, and I'd really found that I felt so much better. I didn't have this weird relationship with food or my body. And over time, I just realized that I was supposed to share this with as many women as possible because I couldn't keep it to myself.
Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing this. And for women out there listening today, we're going to talk more about all the benefits and all the work that Cristina does and how she can guide you, I should say, right, hands in hand. So can we talk about the process of working with someone, like yourself, and how it works?
Yes. So when someone is dealing with a complicated, and I don't really do binge coaching per se, but I can help these women because usually they have caused all kinds of chaos in their body trying to control it. and they haven't been eating enough fat or enough nutrient dense foods. And that causes so many problems in the body. And I really want them to understand that mindset is the first place. We have to work on mindset first because it actually can
Yeah.
help them simplify the process. Because once they see themselves differently, they have a new perspective, they can actually do more by doing less. They're trying to change 1,800 things, on a Friday, and they want it to go well on Monday. And then they're like, oh, I'll start over next Monday. Well, instead, we work on one thing at a time
Mm-hmm.
and we just take one step. And we find that when you do that, it actually cleans up so many other areas just by focusing on what's important. So, one of the processes that I do is I meet with them, I do a carnivore clarity call,
Okay.
and we really get clear on where they are now, where they want to be, and then
Yeah.
all the things that get in the way. And once we decide what they really want, I tell them if I can help them or not. And if I can help them, I will offer them to do coaching. And our very first coaching session is onboarding, and we talk about their responsibility, my responsibility, and then we establish their main health goal. And it's so interesting because usually they think it's lose blah, blah, blah pounds. But
Uh-huh.
actually, it's not that. It's something deeper. And so we also establish their why they want to do this so they can create non negotiables for themselves instead of a bunch of rules. But we really get that main health goal because it's what they think it is. I'm not the boss of the coaching relationship. I'm actually the passenger with the map. They're the driver, they're in charge, they make the decisions. I'm just sort of bringing awareness to where they are and where they need to be and what's holding them back. But I don't make decisions for them and I do not tell them what to do. This actually helps them to learn to become the type of woman who takes
Yeah.
care of their health without needing anyone to hold themselves accountable. I teach them how to hold themselves accountable.
Got it. I know a lot of us, yeah, that's a hard thing and it's a hard pill to swallow for some of us, right? Christina, could you share a story or two about someone that you've been helping and how, amazing, things have changed for them? Because we're also going to dive into more with the food as fuel, movement, and mindset, obviously. But I would also love to hear some stories as well when you get a chance. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about. I have a client that when we met to do our carnivore clarity call, she's trying to be carnivore and she is in her 60s and she basically was having all kinds of issues. And so she came to me from seeing one of my interviews on YouTube and she just aligned with me so much. So when she came to the call, it was really emotional because she didn't know, that she even might need a coach, but she wanted to see if there was even hope. And she came to me with a lot of diagnosis and a lot of problems. And so the first thing that we did was we talked about what's your main health goal, and then she decided to invest in coaching. So when she came to the main onboarding call, she was like, I need to fix my gut. And I was like, okay, great. So that's where we went. We really focused on that. We created a plan for her to start that week. And then when she came back to the call, oh, I actually told her to do something that kind of sounds a little out there, but I asked her, I was like, what if you could write down every single thing that you have going on, all of your diagnoses and all of your health issues? Because it was like 35 diagnoses. And I was like, what if you could write it all down and all the other stress in your life? And I want you to responsibly go outside and burn it. And when you come back inside, I want you to only focus on your main health goal, which is fixing your gut. And she came to the second call and she was like, I don't know what happened, but something changed. And she was like, I actually feel different. And I have not held on to or memorized because she was really good at telling you all things. And she, was deep in that. And I just was so happy to see her come to the very next call and be like, you know what? Somehow I let that go. And I've been carrying this around for a while. And so just that was huge. And over our coaching relationship, she has seen so many changes, but it all came from her mindset because she believed a lot of things she was told. And then she started thinking, well, maybe if they're not true, what if they're not true? And what if I'm believing something that's keeping me stuck? And what if I could get better? And so even some of her diagnosis is like, things from when she was born. So like we couldn't change that. But she can change how she thinks about it. And her body, there's something called epigenetics, which is when you have your genetic history, you believe, okay, these are the things I'm going to get when I get older. Well, when you actually implement your lifestyle and you do healthy lifestyle habits, you sleep better, you eat better, you show up better, you set boundaries, you actually can switch off some of these genetic things and they don't have to happen to you. So I love to tell people who say, I'm going to die of heart disease, I'm going to have what you say out loud, your brain will love to automate it when you repeat it. So something that you don't want to happen, even if it is in your family history.
Amazing. So we can't, we don't just go by the book. You are right. We can still change that course, that path of what we are predispositioned to, shall I say, right? And it's important to know. And I know you believe in proper nutrition as one of those things, proper mindset. So please elaborate.
Yeah. So the mindset is what you think, so shall it be. Oh. It's like what the Bible says, you speak it and it will come to fruition. So when you're in mindset that is like, so one of the thoughts that are floating around in our head, that they're the truth. And instead of thinking, well, what if it's not true, right? I actually teach clients that I want them to listen to those thoughts that are rolling around in their head and start capturing them. What's the main one? Because we can think this thought 70% of the time, and we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. So when you've got this main thought rolling around in there, don't believe it, put it on paper. We can actually take that thought and we can actually replace it with a thought that will get you where you want to be, because your thoughts lead to feelings that cause you to act a certain way, and then you get a result. So if you don't like the result you're getting, you can decide the result and we can backtrack and create the thought based on that, or you can just change the thought. And I don't want them going, oh, let's make a really positive statement. No, we want a real thought that you can think that will create the result that you want, which is like, let's say someone wants to lose weight. I know that's the main thing women want. When they're thinking about that, they're usually negative. Oh, I'm doing this wrong. Oh, I messed up. Oh, I ate the wrong food. Instead, if they could think, I'm just eating, and it's just data.
Yeah.
That helps them to not be so hard on themselves. And the nutrition piece, what I have found is that I do carnivore. I teach women carnivore because it's hypoallergenic and it's anti-inflammatory. So it literally lets the body get back to baseline and to just calm down, because we've been taught that sugar, we can moderate it, and seed oils and grains and processed food, that we can moderate them and still be healthy. So I teach them to really go baseline, just to do the carnivore. And that is, when I say carnivore, there's like chicken and turkey and deer and fish, but we stick to like the red meat carnivore foods because they're ruminant and it actually gives your body things that it needs. And red meat has all the nutrition that your body needs. And so when you do that and you eat saturated fat and salt, these three things can really help the body to start to heal itself. And when the body is in chaos and they're focused on the weight gain because they see all the inflammation, but they're not seeing the underlying things. And so what I do is I help them to see if we can just start with carnivore, basic red meat, salt, and saturated fat. They're going to see their body start to just really respond and really feel better. And they notice after about 21 days that their mind has become so clear and the brain fog is gone. They notice that, all the water retention and all the puffiness goes away. And they notice that they can make better decisions because they just feel so much better. That's the basis of how I start my coaching. And then if they want to, after 90 days, start adding things in and trying things out, like they could eat butter, they can eat tallow, they can eat ghee. Ghee is just basically butter that is separated from the milk solids. And they can make that themselves. But basically, if they can stay away from most things in the very beginning, they can try eggs. They can see how they do. And after about 4 days, they can go, oh, nothing happened.
Yeah.
Okay, well, eggs are good. And then they can start to eat chicken, maybe chicken thighs because they're fattier.
Mm-hmm.
And just see how they do. They wait about 4 days and then they can introduce maybe some pork,
Okay.
bacon, which I call crack. I think
It's
it's
so
very
good.
addictive when you're,
Oh,
like it's very addictive because when you're trying to really calm down how you're connected to food and you eat some bacon, it's just like the crunchiness, the taste, all of that stuff is just like, it's like crack. So, what I try to tell them to do is, if they can moderate the bacon, or some people just don't do well with it, but if they like it and it works for them, that's great. I don't do bacon because it's pork. I do red meat. But, and then they could try other things like lamb. Lamb's really healing. It's not my favorite food, to be
yeah.
honest.
Same
It's
here.
a
Yeah.
texture
Yeah.
thing for me, but a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people like it. Yeah, I think it's just a little too greasy for me. Just, yeah.
Oh.
But red meat, I love burger patties and ribeyes. It's like
Mm-hmm.
my favorite thing.
Why am I getting so hungry? Thank you so much for this. I didn't eat breakfast yet. What are you doing? Oh my goodness. But we also, now let me ask you though, because you're guiding people here with nutrition and all. What are some of the things that, is the best fuel for our body, would you say? Really, what is there like a superfood that you prefer that you promote in a sense?
If I have to say anything, it's usually ribeyes because they're so healing to the body because they are the same fat to protein ratio. And I find that so many women that go to carnivore, so first of all, if they have gut issues,
Mm-hmm.
you can change your microbiome in 2 weeks on carnivore. So you literally kill off all of the pathogens, all of the bad bugs, quote unquote, and you can get your gut to feeling so much better. And so I think ribeyes, and if that's a little too expensive to eat every day, then you can eat burger patties. But a really good brand that's 80/20. So it's 80% fat, 20% protein.
Wow. All right. Interesting. Let me also at this time just want to know, you've been doing this for how many years now?
So it'll be 3 years on April 14th.
Perfect. Now, besides the way we eat, what about the movement we do or lack of movement for some of us? Please.
Okay, so I find that women are on one end of the spectrum or the other. So they're either
Yes.
not doing anything at all and they're laying on the couch when they're off work, or they're doing too much.
Yep.
So, women in their midlife really don't want to be doing a ton of cardio. I know we've been told HIIT training and plyometrics and, running on the treadmill or running out, all of that. It's really bad for women in midlife because their body is at a different stage. And whatever you do now to lose weight or to get healthy, you're going to have to do for the rest of your life. So if you're doing a lot of stuff, do you really want to keep doing that? So it's really about strength training. It's about 2 to 3 days a week, just doing 20 to 30 minutes. It's not an hour in the gym or an hour beating yourself up. It's really about strength training and building muscle because that's going to protect you as you age. And let's say you fall, you're going to get a better land when you've got muscle on you than if you are just like not really working out, not taking care of yourself. Another thing that I notice with women is they like the cardio because they think that building muscle is super easy and they can actually bulk up. And so they're like, oh, I don't want to work out at the gym. I don't want to lift weights because it's going to bulk me up. That's actually really hard to do. You'd have to hire a coach that would literally make you gain muscle because it's not easy. I mean, if you talk to men over 50, it's not super easy for them to gain muscle. So you have to think that as you're aging, you just want to take care of yourself and have strength to live and to do all the things. You don't want to be weak and thin, which is a lot of women want to be just thin. And I'm like, thin does not mean healthy.
Yeah.
Not mean
Yeah.
healthy.
Oh, all right. Well, also, besides our movement, and we need to do, I mean, isn't like basic walking, what are some of the things we could do if we are one of those more um, slower type of turtle-like, sedentary type of people? What is
Oh
this?
my gosh,
What should
yes.
we start doing first?
Walk. So listen, and not walk 6 miles a day. I was talking to somebody yesterday and they were like, yeah, I was taught to walk 6 miles a day. And I was like, how do you keep that up? Like, that must be a huge commitment. So, walking, here is a basic thing you can do: walk 10 minutes after each meal. It's as effective in blood sugar regulation and health as taking metformin. And that's actually a stat you can look up. So, walking has so many benefits to calming the body down, to reducing inflammation, to just helping the body to function better and to lower cortisol.
Interesting. All right. Well, as far as our nutrition, our movement, what else is there that you want to share about, us, about how we can help? Isn't it like mindset? Is that what the other one we're supposed to talk about?
Well, stress management and
Oh,
sleep. So
there we
let's talk
go.
about
Go
sleep.
ahead, bring it
So
on.
if you're not sleeping and you are waking up in the middle of the night, you can't go back to sleep. That could be a blood sugar issue, but if you're
Okay.
not heavy on the carbs, let me just say, eating a lot of saturated fat and eating a lot of carbs is not a great mix.
Okay.
So I don't suggest it, but you could eat butter in the middle of the night. Not go trekking to your fridge to get it, but
Okay.
just have some butter, maybe in a glass dish by the bed. And then if you wake up, you could have that. Now, if you aren't sleeping, the next day is going to be awful. You're going to be so hungry. You're going to be craving all kinds of things that you wouldn't usually want to
Yeah.
eat because you didn't get a restful, good night's sleep. So going to bed early and actually preparing for bed and creating a routine so that your evening, you're turning down all the lights and you are maybe taking a warm bath or a warm shower on your phone or on your tablet or watching TV, but actually read something that will help you to get into a really calm state. And then you can actually go to sleep. We are famous for looking at blue lights all the time. And then we're like, I don't know why I can't sleep. Well, that's one of the reasons. I put my phone on airplane mode at night and I have my alarm set and I'm not staring at my phone because it really tells your brain that it's like noon and we don't want to do that. But that's a stressor on the body. And then
Yeah.
stress management was the last thing I was going to talk about.
Sure.
People don't set boundaries in their life. They actually just try to do for everybody else. And then if they get to themselves, good. If they don't, they're like, when life slows down, I'll take care of myself. But what if you could actually have non-negotiables, take care of yourself and show up better for everybody else in your life and say no to lots of things that you don't need to people please. You don't need to be yourself and say no more.
Interesting. All right. Well, we also got 5 more minutes left in the show. So, what else do you want to make sure we cover for today?
So I really want to speak to the woman who is really just dealing with a lot. And she doesn't realize that this is not a practice run. This is her real life. And she gets to make a choice. She can make a U-turn and she can go back and she can work on her health. She can work on her sleep. She can work on her stress management. She can work on her mindset. She can work on movement if she's not even doing anything right now. She could just walk around inside her house. Let's say there's a blizzard and you're stuck inside. What if you just walked around inside your house and you set up a timer that would let you know it was 10 minutes? And every time you eat a meal, just go walk around your house for 10 minutes. Things like the way that they think, the way that they believe life is supposed to be. What if they can, and your brain will automate anything you tell it over and over. You ever learned like a bad habit and you just kept doing it and you're like, oh, I want to stop doing it. Well, you have to go back and rewire your brain so that you can teach it a new thing. And it takes practice, just like with getting over binge eating. It was a practice of rewiring the brain. And it's not as hard as it sounds, but this is one of the things I help my clients with is really working on where they want to be, what they want to think. And it takes a conscious effort. And I've got one client who when we came into this, she was like, I just don't know. I just don't know. And now she's like written out this beautiful plan for how she wants her life to be. And she reads it every day. And she started to become the type of person that shows up for herself because she's made this conscious effort to write this out. And it's so beautifully written. And it literally walks her through what her life's going to be like. And when she keeps telling her brain that every day, her brain's going to go, oh, she wants me to automate this. Let's go. So that's how that happens. And it's not as hard as it seems. You may think that I'm in my 40s, 50s, 60s, and I have people in their 70s, in my Facebook group contacting me, and they just really hope that there's a way they can change, but they aren't sure if it's really going to happen because, they've gone all this way and they just seem to think that, their habits are set. We can learn new habits right now.
Got it. Well, thank you for that. And what are some suggestions that we can get started for today to make some simple changes? Here we are at the beginning of the week. It's still the beginning of the year. Let's get started. What would you recommend to someone out there listening today who is interested in, now getting to the root core, fixing themselves and living, eating, feeling better about themselves?
Okay, so one simple thing is I teach my clients about the 4 horsemen of illness, okay? They are grains, seed oils, sugar, and processed food. So if they could just start working on removing one of those this week. But the main goal is to start getting themselves away from believing that those foods are necessary or that they can moderate them. Another thing they could do is just start walking after their meals. That creates momentum, and it actually will create a change. And like I say, it will clean up lots of other areas when you start working on something that you can consistently do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. So for today, if we want to get started, how do we reach out to you, and how did you want to leave off for everyone?
Okay, so they can go to my website. It's carnivorelifestyle.com. I have a contact form on there. All they have to do is fill that out, and I will get back to them right away and tell them what their next steps could be. And I just want midlife women to understand that your life isn't over. You don't have diseases because you're older, and you can change your life. You can change your health. And it's just making one simple step, one simple change at a time.
Perfect. All right. And let's get started. How do we contact you?
Yeah, so they can email me at hello@carnivorelifestyle.com. And they can also go to my website. I have a podcast called Carnivore Lifestyle for Women that is been up since October, and I have a lot of women listening to that and coming into my Facebook group. So
beautiful. And you say life is not a practice run. You're in it right now. The choices you make right now will either fuel health or illness. What will you choose? Great way to leave off. What do you think?
Yes.
All right. Well, pleasure having you here. Thank you again for joining us, Cristina Clark. You have a fantastic day. And to all of our viewers and listeners, stay tuned. We'll be right back with more after this quick break. Please stay with us.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.